Amazing.
Annoying voice coming up.
There's no way to stop that, huh?
No.
Maaser Sheni. Okay. We're doing hey Vav,
Hey Gimel.
hey Gimel. Oh, it's in the wrong. I moved it up in the wrong place. Okay. Karen Vi. Beis Shammai says it is not liable to the fifth or to beer, but Beis Hillel says it is. Beis Shammai says it is
Okay,
liable
just
to.
by the way, just remember that because that's going to come into play for this for today's Mishnah again. Is that Beis Shammai said there's no chomesh on Kerem Revi when you redeem it, but Beis Hillel say no, there is. It's similar to Maaser Sheni.
Beis Shammai it is. Beis Shammai says it is liable to parrot and it is liable to oliot, and the poor redeemed for themselves. But Beis Hillel says all goes to the winepress. How do they redeem the Neta Revi? He places the basket before three and says, how much does a person want to redeem for himself for a seller, with the provision that the expenses be borne by his household? And he puts down the money and says, anything gathered from this is redeemed with this money, and so many baskets for a seller. And in the seventh year, he redeems it for its value. And if we all was rendered hefker, it has only the cost of gathering. If one redeems his own neta revi, he must add a fifth of it, whether it is his or was given to him as a gift.
And it's of course according to Beis Hillel, who say that there's a fifth, where Beis Shammai would say not. Okay. Mishnah Vav, Erev Yom Tov Harishon Shel Pesach. Now we're going to talk about biur. So there are lots of different parts of the produce that you have to dispose of and give to other people, and twice in the 7-year cycle, there's a biur where you have an absolute deadline and you have to have disposed of it, and if you haven't disposed of it, you have to destroy.
Mm-hmm. Or he just froze.
Points. So and it happens in the
He just froze at the
7th year,
point.
which is the year after the Maaser on a year every time.
You
Okay,
froze.
sorry, am I back? Okay, am I back with you?
You're back,
Okay.
man. I gotta get the point that you said before. You said there's a certain point we have to.
We have to
Uh,
get rid of everything, right? You've got to dispose of everything, whether it's just the trumos or the Maaser Rishon, which is supposed to go to the Levi, or the Maaser Sheni, which has to go to Yerushalayim, or the Maaser Oni, which has to go to the Aniyim. And it always happens in the year after the Maaser Oni year, so that you're always checking that you've given your Maaser Oni to all the Aniyim. Okay, and that declaration is enumerated in Parshas Kitavo. But here we go in the Mishnah. Erev Yom Tov Harishon Shel Pesach Shel Revius Shel Shvius. In the 4th year and the 7th year on Erev Pesach Hayabir. Ketzed Hayabir. What's the process? Nosnin Truma or Trumas Maaser Lebalim. He has to give the Truma and Trumas Maaser has to go to Kohanim. Maaser Rishon Lebalav, and the Maaser Rishon has to go to the Leviim. Maaser Oni Lebalav, and the Maaser Oni has to have gone to the poor people. Maaser Sheni v'Bikurim misbarim b'chol makom. And if you have Maaser Sheni or Bikurim, they have to be destroyed in any place at this point. It's too late now for you to consume them. They have to now be destroyed. If he hasn't taken them up to Yerushalayim until the year of getting rid of everything, then he has to destroy it from the world. And the same thing applies, by the way, to Neta Revi, which according to Beis Hillel has a din of biur. Remember we saw that 3 Mishnayos ago. So Beis Hillel say that it's got biur and it's got chomesh. Okay, so then all the produce of Neta Revi also has to be disposed of by this time. Yeah. Now you might ask about what about the produce that's growing in that year? Haven't you barely had a chance to get rid of it? So what do you do about that? And we're going to answer that in a couple of Mishnayos time, so you can hold on to that question for now. Okay. Rabbi Shimon Omer habikurim nitanim lekohanim katruma. He says no, the bikurim you don't need to get rid of. You just need to give it to the kohanim. It's just like truma. Okay, so but that's not the halacha. The halacha is that it has to be brought to the Beis Hamikdash. So it's got this. It's more similar to Maaser Sheni because it has to be brought to Yerushalayim. A tavshil. What about cooked foods? If you've got a whole challenge of ingredients, and let's say you've got some potatoes inside there that were Maaser Sheni potatoes, and was supposed to be brought to Yerushalayim, or it was truma potatoes. Or no, maybe not truma. Maybe truma is a bad idea, a bad thing, because Israel wouldn't be doing anything with that. But a tavshil, it's Maaser Sheni, right? He's got Maaser Sheni potatoes inside his chalent. So now comes okay, Erev Pesach. Well, okay, you got it's a chalent. It's a chametz free chalent. Okay. So according to Beis Shammai, tzarich levayir. So you still have to get rid of it because it's got Maaser Sheni in it. Beis Hillel omrim harehu k'mevuar. Oh, and Beis Hillel say this is already been disposed of because the potatoes are mixed in with everything else. It's considered as if it's already been disposed of, and you don't need to jack out the chalent.
Okay.
All right. Mishna Zayin, Misha hayo lo peiros bizman hazeh. Now, bizman hazeh, when we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. So now you've got peiros of Maaser Sheni. What do you have to do with it? V'gia shas habior, and now it comes Erev Pesach of the 4th or the 7th year. Beis Shammai omrim tzarich lechalel al kesef. You have to redeem it onto money. It's ultimately going to have to be destroyed. So destroy the money rather than destroying the peiros. Beis Hillel omrim echad shehen kesef ve'echad shehen peiros. Beis Hillel say, what's the difference? One way or another, it's got to be destroyed. So if you prefer to keep the produce and to let the produce get destroyed, then let the produce get destroyed. That's also an acceptable thing to do, because you have no choice of bringing it to Yerushalayim at this in these times. So Beis Hillel say it doesn't matter. You can redeem it, or you can destroy the fruit itself, according to your own preference.
I just want to. This is something else that's completely different. We keep freezing. Could it be my end that's doing that?
It's my end. I see it on my side. It's suddenly my it tells me my internet is unstable.
But that's not.
Did you miss? Did you miss something in the last minute?
I got it, but I just was wondering what was going on. I thought it might be.
No, I'm afraid there's a problem on my end, because I've got two computers over here. I've got my Mac over here, and I've got a Windows computer which is hosting. That's the KSY Share 3. Right. It's just more convenient for me to talk on the Mac over here, because I've just got better sound set up over here. But when you tell me I've frozen, and I look at myself on the Windows computer, and I can see that my picture from the Mac has frozen.
Okay.
So it's definitely a problem on the Mac. Okay. Which is surprising, because that's probably the more powerful computer, and the one with a better connection. Anyway, onwards to Mishnah Ches. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Berishona hayu sholchin etzel bale batim sheva bendinos maharu v'haskinu es perasechim. Now remember, we had the situation where we just asked a couple of minutes ago about what about if you're in the 4th year or the 7th year, and you've got produce that's growing in the field, right, and now you're concerned about what's going to be with the Maaser Sheni and the trumas and everything that has to be disposed of before Erev Pesach of this year. So they originally used to go around and say, quickly take your peiros and take all the trumas and maasros right now, and make sure that it's sorted out before Pesach. Until Rabbi Akiva made, until Rabbi Akiva came and saved the day, because he came and darshaned and said to everyone, listen, this produce is still sitting in the field. It's Pesach. It's early in the season, and it's not yet ripe. So none of the produce is there's almost nothing that's ready by Pesach time. In fact, I don't know if there is any produce at all that is ripe already by Pesach. So don't worry about it, because if it's not yet reached the stage where it's liable for maasros, then you don't have to worry about beer for it either. And everyone says, thank you, Rabbi Akiva. That makes our lives a lot easier. Okay, Ad Kan with the new Mishnayos.
Okay.
So back to Gimel Zion.
Okay. There's the new ones.
Hmm?
There's the new ones, you said.
That's what we just did. Yeah. So we're now going back to Gimel Zion.
Right. If a tree stands inside but inclines to the outside, or stands outside and inclines to the inside, what faces the wall inward is considered inside, and what faces the wall outward is considered outside. Oil presses whose entrances are inside but the interiors are outside, or the entrances are outside and the interiors are inside, Beit Shammai says all is considered inside. But Beis Hillel says what faces the wall inward is considered inside, and what faces the wall outward is considered outside. The chamber is built in the holy part and opening into the unholy, the non-holy. Their interior is non-holy, but their roofs are holy. Built in non-holy and opening into holy. Their interior is holy, but the roofs are non-holy. Built in the holy and non-holy and opening into the holy and non-holy. Their interior and roofs are the holy, and toward the holy are holy. Above the non-holy and toward the non-holy are non-holy. If Maaser Sheni was brought into Yerushalayim, became unclean, whether by an avatuma or by a vlad atuma, whether inside or outside, Beit Shammai says it must be redeemed and all must be eaten inside, except that which became unclean by an avatuma outside. Beis Hillel says all must be redeemed by eaten outside, except that which is rendered unclean by a vlad atuma inside. Okay, that three. Yeah, no.
That's 3 years. Okay, we're into Chumas Tes Gimel.
And it is liable to maestras and to maisa ani, and poor Israelites and poor priests may take. But the poor Israelites must shell theirs to the priest at the price of truma, and the money is theirs. He who smites is praiseworthy, and he who threshes, how shall he do it? He must hang baskets around the necks of the animals and puts into them of the same kind. Thus he neither muzzles the animal nor gives it truma to eat. The product of truma is truma, but the product of the product is chulin. But the product of Tevel is Maaser Rishon of spontaneous growth of the seventh year, of Truma from outside Eretz Yisrael, of Meduma, and of first fruits is Chulin. The product of Hegdish or of Maaser Sheni is Chulin, and he redeems them at the time that they were sown. 100 beds of Truma and one of Chulin, all are permitted if of a kind whose seed disintegrates. But if of a kind whose seed does not disintegrate, then even if there are 100 of Chulin and one of Truma, they're all forbidden.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Demai Hey Base.
Mm-hmm. If one wishes to separate Truma and Truma Maaser jointly, he takes one part in 33 and one third and says 100th of what is here on this side is Chulin, and the rest is Truma for the whole, and 100 Chulin that is here on this side is Maaser, and the rest adjoining it is Maaser. That which I rendered Maaser is Truma Maaser for it, and the rest is Chala. And Maaser Sheni in the north and the south of it is redeemed with money. If one buys from a baker, he may separate tithe from the warm for the cold, and from the cold for the warm, even of several molds. So says Rav Meir. But Reb Yehuda forbids, because I say yesterday's wheat was from one day, from one, and today's wheat from another. Reb Shimon forbids in the case of Truma Maaser, but permits in the case of Challah. If one buys bread from a bread seller, he must tithe every mold. So says Reb Meir. But Reb Yehuda says from one for all. But Reb Yehuda agrees that when one buys from a monopolist, he must tithe every mold. Right.
Once he's a monopolist, then he's taking from multiple sources, and therefore you don't know which Amei Haaretz he's buying from, who haven't tithed. So, okay, Negayim Cheshei. No, wait, Chesvav. I beg your pardon. It's Chesvav.
If one Baharis, one Tameh, and one Tahor are spread from one to the other, and then cover the afflicted person completely, he is Tahor. On his upper lip, on his lower lip, on his two fingers, or on his two eyelids, even though only when they are pressed together do they appear as one, he is Tahor. If it covered him completely except for a white blemish, he's tameh. If after being covered completely his extremities reverted to a type of white blemish, he is tahor. If his extremities reverted on a patch of skin smaller than a lentil, Reb Meir renders it tameh. And the Chachamim say a white blemish smaller than a lentil is an indication of tuma originally.
Right, and we kind of insert the we inserted the word or bohak or pachos mikadasha. If you have a bohak or something smaller than a lentil, it's a siman of tuma at the beginning, and it's not a siman tuma at the end.
Yeah.
We said I think we said that this is the thing that we called Switzerland. It's neutral. It doesn't prevent him from becoming tameh, and it doesn't prevent him from becoming tahor. It's neutral with uh, whatever is there.
The Kohen shall confine someone who comes completely white. If a white hair appears, the Kohen confirms him. Then either both or one of the white hairs became black or shortened, a boil touched or surrounded both of one of them white hairs, or the white hairs become separated by either a boil, the healing skin of a boil, a burn, the healing skin of a burn, or a dull white blemish. If subsequently a patch of living skin or white hair appears, the afflicted person is tameh. If no patch of living skin appeared, nor any white hair, he is tahor. In all cases, if the extremities revert to a normal appearance, they remain as if they were. If it covered him partially, he is tameh. If it covered him completely, he is tahor. If it covered him completely all at once, if it was from a state of tahara, he is tameh. If it was from a state of tumah, he is tahor. One who becomes tahor from a state of confinement is absolved from letting his hair grow, from rending his garments, from shaving, and from the birds. One who became tahor from a state of confirmation is obligated to do all of them because tuma upon entering a house. Both cause tuma upon entering a house.
Right. And if you recall, there was in Maseches Megillah we had the perek of all the Ein Bains. The only difference between somebody who becomes tahor from hesker and from being muchlat is whether he has to tear his clothes and let his hair grow, and whether he has whether he has to tear his clothes and whether he has to have the shaving and the birds. That's the difference between them. But all the rest of the dinim of tumah and going outside the camp are applicable to both cases. Okay.
One who comes completely white but is
No,
not.
that's it. We're done 3 there. Okay, we're in Avos Daled Yud Gimel.
Rabbi Yehuda says, be meticulous in study, for a careless misinterpretation is considered tantamount to willful transgression. Reb Shimon says, there are 3 crowns, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship, but the crown of a good name surpasses all of them. Nemirori says, exile yourself to a place of Torah, and do not assume that it will come after you, or that your colleagues will cause it to remain with you, and do not rely on your own understanding.
One more.
No, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Rabbi Yana says, it is not in our hands to explain either the tranquility of the wicked or the suffering of the righteous. Maaser ben Kares says, initiate a greeting to every person, and to a tail be be a tail to lions rather than a head to foxes.
And that was one of our motivations to making Aliyah. Is we found that we're being head to foxes where we were in our community in South Africa. It's like I was finding that me with like 2 years in yeshiva, people around me were coming to me with shilas, and I'm thinking there's something wrong here. I need to. So we needed to be in a place where we could be the tail to lions. Okay.
2 deaf mute brothers were married to 2 deaf mute sisters, or to 2 competent sisters, or to 2 sisters, one a deaf mute and one competent, or if 2 deaf mute sisters were married to 2 competent brothers, or to 2 deaf mute brothers, or to 2 brothers, one a deaf mute and one competent. These widows are exempt from Chalitza and from Yibum. If they were not related, they should marry, and if they then wish to divorce, they may. If 2 brothers, one a deaf mute and one
You have the issue over here is that when you've got a chereshes, the cheresh is not competent to do a mitzvah herself. So so just taking the situation where you've got
Not
where
not
you where
not competent to do a mitzvah herself.
she's not right. Because a chereshes is not competent to do a mitzvah. Now, chalitza is her mitzvah. She's got to take off his shoe and she's got to spit and she's got to say the things,
Right.
which she can't do because she's a chereshes. However, she can be passive in the situation. So if she submits to yibum, then she can also be divorced because the divorce is entirely in the husband's hands. So if she wants to go free, then what he can what the yavam can do is he can do yibum with her and then he can divorce her. But she can't do chalitza. So her only way that she has of getting free is to submit to yibum and then to be divorced.
Strange. Okay. Um, if the competent husband or the competent sister, no, wait, if
We're
two
in
brothers,
Daled now.
right, if two brothers, one a deaf mute and one a competent, were married to two competent sisters, and the deaf mute husband of the competent sister died, what should the competent husband of the other competent sister do? Nothing, because she is released as his wife's sister. If the competent husband of the competent sister died, what should the deaf mute husband of the other competent sister do? He must discharge his wife with a bill of divorce, and his brother wife is perpetually forbidden.
Right, because she is stuck with um so again so the one brother is a cheresh and he's married to the two sisters. So if the Pikech brother dies, so what must the cheresh do? So he can't stay with his wife because now his own marriage to his wife is on a Durabanan level because he's a cheresh. Now this other woman has fallen to him Doraisa, and so he's got a zika to her. So his own wife is asa to him because she's the sister of a woman who's got a zika to him. Okay, so he has to divorce his wife the same way as he married her, which is basically by sign language. And what can he do with this with the Avama? Well, he can't marry her either because he's a cheresh. He can't actually marry her, and she is and she's not allowed to marry anyone else. So this is a really pretty bad situation. The only way that she'll be able to marry again is if the cheresh dies.
If two competent brothers were married to two competent sisters, one a deaf mute
Oh,
and one.
and he can't do yibum on her either because he's already been married to her sister.
Right.
So the Rabbanans and the Daraisas get mixed up over here, and she can't do chalitza with him because he is a cherish.
It's a bad situation. It's not
Yeah,
good. If
not a good situation. Yeah.
if two competent brothers were married to two sisters, and one a deaf mute and one competent, and the competent one husband of the deaf mute sister died, what should the competent husband of the competent sister do? Nothing, because she is released as his wife's sister. If the competent husband of the competent sister died, what should the competent husband of the deaf mute sister do? He must discharge his wife with a bill of divorce, and his brother's wife Galitza. If two brothers, one a deaf.
Oh no, stop there. All right. Your Mishnah puts everything into Mishnah Hey, but we're working with the breakdown of our Mishnah also over here. So I've got Vav Zion and Ches and Tes all the way up until the end of the parak, but I think your edition contains all of them in one big Mishnah.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. So next time I'm going to start over here.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we are done.
Okay.
Have a lovely day.
You too. I'm going to put my name in the thing now so I can get it straightened out. I hope. Okay.
Okay.
Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.